main reason is to satisfy all the reef regulations, but just overall I think we cut back on fertiliser, you're saving a bit of money there, and the production's not dropping, so that's good. But this just made it, like an agronomist, you're getting an outside feedback as to what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right. So it did make a big difference. As a general rule, I think we're using less chemical than what we were before. A lot of these rules and regulations you didn't really know about until you got right into it, and there's a lot of stuff that you didn't know. But bit by bit you learn what you do have to do, and we've changed our practices a lot to what we used to do. A lot of chemicals we don't use anymore. We're using different chemicals, getting as good results. And it's sort of, I think we're spraying a bit less than what we used to do.
Even better guidance with label changes, and so you can keep up to date with what you can and can't do. So it's just keeping on top of all the documentation side of things and the regulations. So if there's a better chemical to use.
Labels are changing all the time, and we sort of haven't trying to keep up with it, but they do. And I'll tell you, you can certain chemicals you can't use, like around the tree lines. We've sort of cut your rates back, and you're still getting a good job as to the job that it's doing. If you're putting on a certain chemical and you want to change chemicals, or you're doing a different job, it only takes a minute to change your nozzles over. You run a bit of water through it to check them, and away you go. Straight after harvest, you're sprayed with pre-emergent, like over the top of everything, so that you're trying to hold all grass down. And then later on, you sort of go through with either gramoxone or 2,4-D just to clean up any scapees that got past the pre-emerge. And then it just gets dunded, and then irrigated straight after dundering, or a few days after. And then it's just a matter of weed control after that. We've been using dunder for the last probably 20 years. It used to be spread by trucks once, and then we ended up setting our own system up to do it ourselves. And then we progressed. We had a small tank, like an applicator, and then we built that one there when about probably 10 years ago, maybe a bit less. And then bit by bit it's been changed to how it is now. It just improvements each year until it's pretty well how we want it now. It's just so much easier than granular. It's just if it drizzles rain, you can still put it on. You're not going to get your fertiliser wet.
You don't need another tractor there filling up. And
no bag lifters. Yeah, well, that was a big thing with this dunder.
Variable rate.
Yeah, variable rate application. It turns each nozzle on and off automatically. So once you've got your boundaries in your GPS set, it'll turn on and turn off each nozzle as it comes to the start and the end of a row. Especially if you're on grains running on an angle through a paddock, it'll just turn on and off automatically without you having to manually do it. So you don't get dunder in the drain.
Keep it in the paddock.
It's all in the paddock, no waste at all.
Irrigation, we get it pumped straight down from Canberra, and we're just upgrading our side of the line, making a few changes, so a few pipes. So we had new valves that we were putting in to make our system shutting and starting up easier. It's not putting too much pressure through the line and just regulating it. So just doing a bit of cutting and welding of pipes and a bit of changes.
The old valves were still working, but they're at the point now you can't get spare parts for them. So if something goes wrong inside, you can't get a part, so we'll change all the valves over now. We're not really heavily into irrigating just yet, so the job will be done when we're ready to go. We've been soil testing every year for a long time, but it's become more and more important with all these reef regulations. So you're still soil testing, but you've got someone else that are doing all the behind the scenes work as to what a certain paddock needs according to your soil test. Whereas before, you knew a little bit about it, but not a lot about it. So you're a bit in the dark a bit, but now it's a lot more, you get a fertiliser plan and just follow the fertiliser plan.
There's not much point putting a higher rate on something that doesn't really need it. Just wasting money and wasting time, and you're not going to get any more production out of it.
And it's easy to follow, and you just put that information into the GPS screen, what product you're using and what the target rate is, and then it just does everything automatically. Then it puts on the right amount. No matter what speed you're doing, it adjusts to suit that rate. First year with GPS was about 2012. We only had one. Then we bought a couple of second-hand ones, and you sort of can't do without them now. They just because they're just so much easier to do your farm work, and it records what you're doing, and you can sort of go back a couple of years and see what you've done, what you've put on where, or even at planting time you can go back and see what varieties you've put into certain blocks. It's all there, all the data's there ready to go. I've adopted more than what I thought I ever would, but as far as drones and robotics, I think I'll stay out of that one. But like GPS has been the biggest game changer, I think. It just makes everything so much easier, what you're doing. Some when they're not working properly, you can sort of tell your hair out, but that's easily fixed.
It's going to be huge. Like, we're just scratching the surface as it is in recording what we're doing and everything else like that. But what we can do moving forward is going to be so much bigger. We're only just learning and just using it for its basic capabilities, where we're not even using it for spraying yet and everything else. So you can record wind speeds, everything else like that, and we can just move it straight over, send it straight to Farmacist, and all your BNP's done. I dare say drones will probably start coming into a bit more. You can more operating yourself with a basic license and everything. You can spot spray instead of getting a helicopter in and doing your whole farm. You don't have to worry about power lines as much. You know, it's not as big a risk. It's just going to be more managed control. Instead of spraying a whole paddock, you can target what's there.
And there's a lot of stuff that you don't know yet, and you sort of learn a bit about it, and you can adopt that into your practice, and bit by bit you're changing with to suit those different technologies.
If you save an inch each pass, you one less pass you got to do during the day. It's fuel, it's maintenance, it's everything else on top of that as well. So that's just 1 inch. So if you're saving a foot, it's going to be so much more.